When it comes to Joe Biden's economy, um, it's pretty amazing. But how come he isn't getting credit for it? Because a lot of the Trump voters, the inbred Trump supporters, don't want to give Biden credit for anything. They claim that Trump's economy was better, but it really wasn't. Now, what fucking fantasy version of America do the fucking inbred Trump supporters live in? If the economy is so fucking bad, why are restaurants and shops so packed? Now, I understand the anecdotal evidence is hardly that I understand, but when it comes to anecdotal evidence, it's hardly worth mentioning because one makes you wonder if people are or as concerned about the prices of goods and services as polling data says that they are. As you stand in line at a restaurant or circle the mall parking lot looking for a space to park, do you wonder about the disparity between what people apparently tell pollsters about the economy and what you see with your own two eyes? Um, it, at least in terms of economic consumption, people can be pretty conservative, or depends on what the fuck you talk about. Some people, when they talk about being conservative, when they splurge out on a meal, um, if the person's married, they tend to share a main dish and a salad with that person. That's basically both a financial and a dietary economy. Some people cannot simply finish the huge portions of food that many restaurants typically serve, and not all of them do that. Part of that is as a consequence of getting older, but it also might be that they can't eat that much because somewhat along the line they made a conscious practice of not eating that much. Um, Now, when people eat at restaurants now, they notice what appears to be freewheeling spending all around. Trays of upscale cocktails and appetizers, pricey entrees and desserts, and when people travel to see their grandkids, the story is the same. Whether it be that they're in Nashville, Knoxville, Charlotte, Lexington, any place or town that you state that you live in, the restaurants are always full. People seem to be spending money like there's no tomorrow, and maybe there's an uptick to that. It's easy to question the economic woes of someone who drives around in a $60,000 pickup truck, or complain about the guy in our town who drives around in an absurdly tricked out golf cart flying a full-sized American flag. It's entirely possible that those individuals are Trump sycophants who believe, or they claim to believe, that Joe Biden is doing a terrible job with the economy in the face of nearly all available evidence otherwise. Some of those dressed down folks packed into the restaurants may feel the same way despite the splurge spending. Now, now, when you ask a Trump sycophant, when they say Biden's bad economy, what the fuck does that even mean? And of course, but never mind the lowest unemployment numbers in decades and the other telling economic data points. Just look around you. Even the Murdoch even the Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal acknowledges how strong the economy has been under President Biden. Not only has economic output made up all the ground lost during the pandemic, but it is above where it would have been had the pandemic never happened, judging by what the Congressional Budget Office projected back in early 2020. So what gives? Why do so many people tell pollsters that they think that Trump and the Republicans would do a better job with the economy when that has literally never been true in my lifetime, because the Republicans destroy the economy anyway. Now, when Republicans claim that they're great with the economy, which they're not, there must be a worthless statement clause buried in that fine print. Now, polling makes clear that Trump sycophants are not with him primarily over economic concerns. They must secretly suspect by now that he has no clue about that he has no fucking clue about managing the economy, and that we know that he's a terrible fucking businessman. They back Trump for his simplistic and often incoherent answers to complex issues. They basically adore him for the hatred of others that he promotes, and the anti-civic purpose he gives them license to feel. Now, floating nonsensical or self-canceling conspiracy theories and owning the Democrats are easier and a lot more fun to them than actually trying to formulate policies to help us move forward as a nation in this fraught and trying world. The old political button that read "Vote Republicans." It's easier than thinking. It isn't even sarcastic in the age of voter suppression, book banning, Christian nationalism, and self-serving fake history. As New York satire writer Andy Borowitz said in a recent Salon interview, that put down by Democrats has long been embraced as a winning tactic by the GOP. Um, Now, we're a little bit hesitant to say that the Democrats are the party of smart people and the Republicans are the party of ignorance. But I think the Republicans caught on a little bit sooner to the fact that this whole projection of anti-intellectualism was a vote winner, and they really made it their brand. Americans like simple. They want a snappy slogan, not a complex and nuanced story without obvious villains. Democrats, for their own reasons, still haven't wrapped their heads around all this. Maggot voters tend to be more well-heeled, and not in the Ron DeSantis sense, than the working class Americans in general. They often pretend to be down-home guys and gals, but they're really not. But consider how many of the January 6th Klan rioters flew into Washington and stayed in nice hotels before they stormed the Capitol. And we could assemble a considerable list of supposed good old boys in Congress who attended Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or Stanford, where they presumably battled the liberal elites. Now, one inconvenient truth is that the ethos of consumer society teaches us that enough is never enough. Our especially rapacious form of capitalism tries to fuel and amplify our desires and enable as many thoughtless purchases as possible. Now, people will often travel to the city where they grew up in, whether it be for a funeral or something. And people say they can barely recognize a place, or they can barely navigate through the endless rows of restaurants, strip malls, and big box stores that are soaking shoulder to shoulder along all the main streets. Of course, the city we live in now looks, or any city that you live in now, looks much the same. In many other affluent democratic countries, the ones where happiness is considered to be highest, people actively think about what they are consuming and why. It isn't surprising that citizens of countries with better government services and robust social safety nets have the mental and emotional space to do just that. Now, when it comes to the Republicans' economic message to Americans remain steadfast. Every man for himself, it's every woman for herself too. But for much of the GOP, women are still secondary and highly troublesome considerations, and basically Republicans basically want to control them and manipulate them. The Ayn Rand winner-take-all ethos and the thoroughly disproved trickle-down theory holds out that helping those who need no help will somehow lift everyone up, continue to be trotted out and debased in a zombified form. Now, it's unclear whether anyone still believes these deeply wrong and simplistic ideas, but plenty of people still embrace the myth that one day they might just try to get to join the Billionaires Club, which they won't. Now, Republicans tell people what they long to hear, while Democrats are forever hamstrung by trying to tell people what they need to hear in order to function as responsible citizens in a democracy sense. But busy, overworked, stressed-out people don't want complexity, and most people have no abiding interest in politics, but they do crave neatly packaged explanations that blame their own problems and their worlds on somebody else. So while Republican voters keep on complaining about the Biden economy, they also keep on consuming like mad. They don't like the higher prices of the last few years, which is understandable enough, and it doesn't matter to them that all industrialized countries saw similar rates of inflation during the post-pandemic recovery, or that the inflation rate in the U.S. has come down faster than in most other countries. Any economist or political scientist will tell you that presidents don't usually have much effect on the economy, but in fact Biden's policies, especially on infrastructure and spending and revitalized manufacturing, are making a huge difference. Build Back Better wasn't a big hit as a slogan, but it was a reasonable strategy that has led to better economic times. Another way to consider the packed shops, planes, and restaurants of this moment is to reflect that we were bottled up too long by the various strains of COVID-19, and that the apocalyptic thinking spread by a former squatter and his political party has affected too many of us for so long. The worsening crisis of climate change hangs over us all, whether or not we want to think about it, but we have one more or less functional political party, while the other one, a bizarre cult that was led by men super worried about their masculinity, talks endlessly about societal collapse and civil war. As Michael Stipe sang back when, "It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. We all want comfort in hard times, and we definitely all want to get out of the house and see our friends again, even if we know we're just wishing the pandemic to be over." Many of the people thronging the bars and restaurants are millennials and even Gen Z members, and they feel trapped by student debt, working jobs that don't pay them enough to let them plan for their future. But they may have concluded that absent a big score, they'll never be able to buy their own house or have kids of their own. And we could say the same about our friends and colleagues. When you feel your personal economic future is bleak, it makes perfect sense to live your life in terms of short-term enjoyment. George Orwell wrote in his memoir Down and Out in Paris and London that the poor in England would spend money on small luxuries like a pack of cigarettes or a decent cup of tea because poverty annihilates the future. And not too many of the millennials in those restaurants live in actual poverty, but when they look around, they sure must feel cheated out of the old-school American dream. Now, with all that being said, the fact is that Joe Biden's economy is historically strong, no matter how much you want to say it isn't. That doesn't seem to matter to the inbred Republicans, but too many people buy into the shameless rhetoric of the maggot candidates who tell them what they want to fucking hear and maybe what they're thrilled to fucking hear, especially about their freedom to behave badly against others rather than mundane or complicated facts about how responsible governments and economies work. Our problem isn't that democracy is failing us. We need more of it and not less, along with the return to the study of civics as part of our education. What's failing us and failing the world are the dual-witted politicians that we send to Congress and state houses who try to push their religious views on the entire country and embrace a ruthless, predatory, unthinking capitalism that lowers nearly everyone's standard of living, but elevates a tiny minority to incalculable and unhealthy levels of wealth. Last week's election results in Ohio, Virginia, Kentucky, and elsewhere offered heartening evidence that many voters are resistant to deceptive campaigns, and proved how out of step with the public opinion that the current Republican Party and its captive Supreme Court really are. Now, abortion rights are clearly a potent issue for many voters, including a lot of independents and Republicans. Democrats need to make a better case about how much Joe Biden has accomplished for the economy in general, and for working-class Americans in particular. Now, facing near total opposition by Republicans in Congress, the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act got exactly 0 GOP votes. Biden got the massive bipartisan infrastructure bill passed. His manufacturing plan invests in rural areas and it will transform local economies. Biden is the first president in many decades to stand with organized labor and support its fight for better wages and benefits. He continues to work on alleviating the crushing student debt loan, the student loan debt that limits so many young adults' lives. Now Biden has taken on Big Pharma, and he got a bill passed to lower prescription drug prices and healthcare costs for older Americans. He is working to stop the junk fees hidden in so many transactions, and he put us back in the Paris Climate Accord, and he has done far more to address that crisis than any previous person. Now, what really needs to change, Joel, is the predatory character of present tense American capitalism, where profit too often comes from the suffering of others. And this would allow younger generations and all of us to lead better and happier lives. Biden has done his part, but he can't fix all of us on his own. The Republicans don't want to, and they won't even try, and they don't even bother to try helping them. Because the Republicans suck on the economy. Basically, they want to destroy the economy and then blame it on Biden. So basically, if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. You can also leave a comment, let me know what you think. Just to be forewarned for people, there is an inbred troll named Soper. He's been trolling my channel. Of course, he's been pushing my video out. He's commented on several videos, but just so you know, he's an inbred Trump sycophant who inbreeds with his mom and his sister, and he has no wife, and basically he's been trolling my channel. But obviously what he fails to realize is that every time he makes a comment on my video, it pushes it up for more views. So basically I just let him be, because he's got no life and he's just desperate for attention. And then also, if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you are going to find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little as a few bucks a video or a monthly donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.